else you do, see me?
I didn't.
I'm gonna do my spin while I'm here.
Another player is trying the lucky wheel. Will they win big or remain a disappointment in life?
Welcome. Your chips.
I like this.
Why not?
Alright.
Why don't you like it, bro?
Not you. You good,
It's
Sammy?
me. It's totally me. I got fucked. I got free drinks.
Yeah, you did.
There
Let's see how much the wheel likes the Mendez cartel.
fabulous prize could be won.
Drinks as well. We up.
Yep. Alright. Oh, let me show you, Sammy, I got something to show you. Alright, Nate, it was good seeing you.
Yeah, bro. Good seeing you too, man.
Want these pants, right?
Yeah.
How can I help you?
Fucking bullshit ass fucking.
Here you go.
I hate this place.
Barely ever even do the wheel, I can't lie. Shit's ass.
It's just a scam.
Yo.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be pants 157.
Okay, Sammy. Why don't you throw a beard that's a mask on?
Because then I can't wear the actual mask. swag, man.
I could care less. How much pseudomed did he give you?
Just one.
That's still
Okay.
good.
I'll just put it in.
Oh fuck! I forgot to pull out the money for the contribution.
Just do it on the way back. Where's it? Peg store.
I gotta get food too. Just stop at Mama's real quick.
Is that Pablo's car?
It's not.
All right, twin.
Yo,
Yo,
you selling rope?
Nah.
Yeah, you like that, right? See how nice it look?
Is it like a cigarette? What is it?
It's like a cigarette holder, but it's like pure gold, pretty much.
Oh, that is kind of fire. I'm not gonna lie. How much is the plushie?
Hello,
They 30K.
doing good.
30K. Ooh, I'm trying to save up for a lawyer right now to get this ankle bracelet off.
Give me a little bit.
Oh,
if,
I'll pass on
if
that
you
one.
are looking
What'd
to
you get?
get
Lawyers are
something
What'd you get the
delivered,
ankle monitor for?
Literally nothing. Literally nothing at all.
probably
It would be the easiest case to win
like
for a lawyer,
2 or
and they're trying to
3
charge me
minutes,
100K out here, and it's kind of
depending.
insane.
Why is it always the
So-
most
Which
random
one? What are you
civs that
looking
have
to order?
ankle monitors?
can
No
I just
offense.
get a couple?
That's
of
what I'm
those?
saying. Like my friend was speeding,
2
and
box
we got
buttons?
pulled over, and I was like,
Anything
"Dog,
special?
he's speeding. He's like, I take
Nah.
a shit, like a fat shit. Like I
Yeah,
promise.
yeah,
Like I got bubble
the
guts. I'm
2
not
big
invasive bad
artists
food. I
black
don't know."
boxes.
Sir.
And then they told me to step out of the truck, and I did. And then they slapped this bitch on, and they said, "You got court in an hour." And I said, "What the fuck?" They didn't even
Was
tell
it
me what
Cheap
it
or
was for.
Ruckus that did it?
I can definitely get
I
that
didn't
to you.
recognize them, so I don't know.
That's fine. I don't know, I'd
It's
be
gonna
raging,
be
I
like
can't lie, if I got an ankle
Yeah.
monitor.
Now they're trying to make me snitch, and I was like, "Nah, fuck that."
total.
Take this bitch off.
Each box is 11,000.
And then I
and
talked to the
then,
cops, like, "Take this bitch
delivery
off. Like,
So-
y'all want me to snitch? Like, nah, take it off."
I'm
And then,
guessing none of your friends want to be around you anymore because
I'll
you
be up
just
there,
you
like,
beep every like 10
probably,
seconds.
5-10 minutes. 'cause,
Yeah,
I'm
no,
on a
I don't think
scooter.
that's the case because they ended up getting one too after we shot at the cop.
Alright. See you in a bit.
Yeah.
What's good? What's good?
What's up? How are you?
Did you ring her
When's
up
your
or no?
when's your court appearance?
No, that's
No,
what
they didn't.
I got a delivery to do.
Hey, what?
Okay.
When's
can
your
I get you?
court date?
One second. I'll get some food. The combo.
Should get J-Dubs to represent
You
them.
want pizza? You want what?
Howdy.
Or Rain.
Uh,
Rain's back
you know,
today,
yeah.
actually.
Alfredo, spaghetti.
Oh,
Yes,
hit me up with some of
yes.
that Alfredo.
Yes,
what
that
kind
would be
of drink you
fucking
want? We got
hilarious.
strawberry cream soda. We got lemonade. We got cola.
5k each.
We got
Give me-
cappuccino.
Hold up.
Ooh, give me cola.
You want big?
Yeah, I'll pay card.
All right.
Miss, I have the perfect lawyer.
Yeah, we have a lawyer for you.
Oh, y'all have a lawyer?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're trained.
How much?
They're the Bolivian legal bar, but it still works in Los Santos, so
It's the worst in Los Santos.
it still works. It still works.
How much is that shit?
We'll do it pro bono. We'll do it for free because
Yeah.
we're nice people.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
You seem like
Are y'all?
you know.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Do you Are you gonna be in city like on Tuesday? Because that's when the next
Oh, is
court
it Tuesday?
date is. Yeah. it's
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
What
What
time on
time is that?
Tuesday?
I think it's like 6 CST. If it's gonna be the same time.
Yeah,
When's
no,
that
no, I
EST?
hear you. I'll probably come back and
Say what?
refill the fridge.
What time is that EST?
EST that would be
That-
7
that-
7 EST.
To be honest, give us 24
J-Dub
hours.
should be around.
Yeah. Give us 24 hours. We have 2 lawyers in the family.
Shit.
Yeah. They just kind of do their they don't do
There you
gang
go.
stuff. They just do legal things. So
Okay, for sure. I'd love to talk to him.
all right.
It's on the tray for you.
Oh,
Chicken
sorry,
fettuccine
my
and
fault.
cola.
Alright, well, exchange numbers. I'll give a number to you, or
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
give you
Give me
their. I'll give them
one
your
second.
number. Simon.
No,
One
reach
second.
out.
I'm quite literally starving.
You're good. My boy Jay's been hanging around you guys, John.
Yeah, he said he wants to be a pig, man. He
Do I give
spoke
it
with
to
Tony a couple days ago.
That's
Taylor
good.
Christian?
I think he'd do
Wait,
very
is your
well.
name Holden?
Yeah.
I tell you what, he's a hell of a earner.
Oh yeah, he's a good guy too. Like
Alright, well,
He's,
when they fly in
he's
later,
a Swi-
I'll tell them.
he's a Swiss Army knife. He could
Yeah.
fill any hole, you know.
Yes,
Yeah,
please. And
I
I can give
noticed
him.
that.
Yeah, and I can give him a rundown of everything.
I know you guys will treat my boy
Alright,
good.
Absolutely, man. You know how it is.
We're gonna get
Yeah.
you sorted. Maybe.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I need this bitch off my ankle.
Hey, I
It
don't
weighs
want
like
one
10
of them.
pounds. It's heavy.
Oh no.
Bro, I'd lose my shit if I had one of those on my ankle. Like,
Yeah, I'm going fucking crazy. And I haven't even had it on that.
that
long.
beeping's irritating me and I haven't even listened to it.
Oh yeah, that's why I was like,
2.5
take this shit
minutes.
off.
And they
feel
see
that.
where you at all times.
Yeah, all times. Like,
Complication and shit. It's like a crazy ex-boyfriend that I didn't want, never had.
do the cops ever just randomly pull up on you? Like,
Yeah, last night we were working the food truck, and they just kept like popping up and it was being annoying as fuck. And then like they wouldn't really like buy any food, so we were like, get the fuck out. And then they were like acting like they were fixing their cars. And I was like, look at this. Their cars aren't even fucked. They have all their tires. They have all their
Wait, he has
doors.
one
The
too.
engine's not smoking. Shit's so dumb.
What's up, champ? What can I get you?
Shit, what's the cheapest shit
Oh,
I
he
can get?
does have. What's up, twin?
They all around the
Alright.
same price, man. You get pizza, you
Alright,
get
well.
pasta.
How much is
I'm
it?
gonna leave you with your fellow convicts.
2,500?
Y'all be
Nice to
safe
meet you.
out
Got a
here.
2,800
Nice to meet you
combo.
too.
That's too funny.
I have a feeling we can get that guy Brian to join.
Yeah, it's just another ex-gang member. You know,
But he wasn't even in the Armenians for a month.
just another conversation to see
I
some
think
actual Danny's, you know.
he's still a Danny. Well,
I
now
know
he's
he
not.
is, but I mean like actually he's
Yeah. Which kind of sucks because I've been like, before I was meeting people, bringing people around, but like I haven't
I haven't
really
really been
able
meeting any Danny's, I can't lie.
Bro, when I'm working the mech shop and I'm fucking like mining, I'm always meeting them and like I introduce us to them and all that kind of like keep in contact, but I just haven't been able to really fly in. And when I call them, like they're not in city anymore, and it's like fuck.
Yeah, every decent Danny I meet them once and then they just never fly back into the city.
Yeah, I was like, fuck, man. Kind of annoying, but I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think a
Oh,
lot of gangs, like Southside gangs especially, they just like all the Dannies want to go to the Southside, so they just mass recruit like everyone,
yeah.
and then they just see like who stays around. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then like,
What
law of numbers, they just get like a few solid ones every couple of months.
when they keep doing this shit. When more people are around, I'm gonna introduce Brian to all of them because, I mean, he's a right. So if he, you know, if we provide the meth and he sells it, that's another, you know, he's just gonna
Yeah,
end
it's
up
a good
giving the
source of
meth back.
income.
Exactly. Because like I'll be like, okay, sell this meth and I'll just buy the dirty back off of you at a discounted price, you know? It's a win-win. We're getting dirty in return, you know? I'll talk to Jaeger about it. But I also don't want anybody to scam him in case you know, like Milo finds out, or if Jaeger, Jess, or you
No,
know,
we
I'm not
don't
saying
really.
anybody.
You don't really
Yeah, I know.
scam. Like since I've been in Mendez, we scammed SSH and we scammed Hanselways, and that's literally all I've seen.
I don't buy those scams the
The
same.
SSH one was fucked. That was funny.
Um,
It was like it was OG Dice plushie the flea had,
mhm.
and they put up and they send the money after Flea's talking to him for like 10 minutes, and then Flea's like, "I'm sorry, man, you seem cool," and the other SSH guy's like, "Fuck, I knew it," as we're gunning them down. It was
Yeah.
rough.
Yeah. Well, Brian's just a good guy, and it seems like, even though it might be a conversation with Tony down the line, I think he's somebody that we can get.
I miss Flea, man. It's
Do you?
fucking. Yeah, I'm pissed that he left, bro.
I mean, it is what it is, man. Like
He was a cool guy, man. He was funny as fuck,
to be honest, man.
and he was really good with new people as well.
Yeah, I've had a couple interactions. Hopefully, they're all positive, but at the end of the day, like, they chose to leave, man. Fuck them, you know.
I just remember like we were doing a lot of funny shit with him when I first joined Mendez, you know.
Yeah, I get it, man.
I mean,
I get
that
it.
kind of stuff just it kind of stopped because he stopped flying in as much. But like when I first joined Mendez, I'm doing a lot of funny shit with him.
I saw Juju's scripted movie.
I think I've seen that. Isn't it just like a chase and then they just
Hang
drive
it
the
out,
cops
yeah.
into a kill box and shoot it out?
Yeah. Yeah.
Jamie's one's funny. It's literally just him abusing a broken car for like 10 minutes straight. Can't lie. I don't know if you've seen Jamie's one.
No, I haven't seen Jamie's one.
It's just like getting away from cops with like 10 minutes straight, but most of them is just like the OG R8,
Oh shit.
and the car's just fucking cracked.
Yeah.
I want to try this Uber app because they keep fucking saying that.
I tried it last night. It's
I don't
kind
even
of
know what to.
funny.
Yeah, I want to try it, but like I don't know. Why is my BMX PD impounded? I don't know.
Well, have them just take you to like the Sugar and Spice, and then that way you can, or like a garage down the street. You know?
Well, I'm not gonna pay 5K to get my BMX out of PD impound. I can just go buy another one for like 1K.
I get it, but you know what I mean. I think it's
So
also like
where's Ace Jones Drive?
I don't know.
Nice compound. Stash. I remember, I don't know if you ever really met the guy or talked to him, but Marty from Gambays.
Yeah, I did.
He was like the best guy in the city I've ever seen at getting Danny's.
Well, I gotta put my name in the hat and make a better effort on trying to find Danny's.
His
I know
strat,
I can.
I completely forgot about it. His strat was obviously he's like really good at pasta, so it's a bit different. But and he's super rich, but he would like he'd just call taxi like the demon hours, you know, and find like Danny's working taxi, and fucking like have him drive him about like he's like, you know what like how Tony does it.
Mhm.
You basically just do that, and then like give him like decent amount of money and set him up with shit and show him a good time, basically. Like I remember Gambay's got like 30 Dannies in like a month or something when they first started.
Yeah, I might have to do that. Try that. Give them like get a really nice car like a limo. Have them drive us around for events and stuff, or even just to go get food. Shit like that. All right. Well, I'm gonna fly out. I gotta go think about food, do some yard work. I'll be back in a couple hours. What the fuck is that?
Don't know. DR probably. Probably a DR. It's a DR spot over there.
Can we sneak it from the roof?
Nah, it's the DR's like kind of in front of Eclipse if it's that spot over there.
Cops are there anyways.
Alright, well, see you later. Are you flying in after soon?
Probably.
I have oh shit. My girl wants to have kind of like a late lunch with her parents.
Okay.
So I have that at 3 o'clock my time.
Fair enough. What time is it for you
So
now?
9:30.
9:30?
Yep, a.m.
Are you West Coast?
M.
Yeah, it's 5:30 p.m. for me right now.
Oh shit. Yeah. I gotta go fucking and then I'm going fishing with her dad on Sunday. So that's gonna be fun.
Where's my pickaxe? Where's it? Oh, it's actually on me.
Did you move the dirty?
Yeah, I put it in trailer. Maybe put a pseudomed in hideout.
Yeah.
Do you want to send me the money and I'll put it in stash for you? I'll put your name on it.
me, more prestigious than some of the other titles floating around. And the arguments used against it can literally be used against any other belt that they have. So that's all I'm saying. It's just the strong reactions.
Yeah.
But like one of the things that you had pointed out in your last statement that I really disagree with, not so much the present state of things, in which I think is a totally different ball game. And I want to be clear. I've seen people be like, "Oh, these are problems that they got a deal with Paramount, and now we have all these challenges." And the reality is that's not true either. These are problems that have been sitting and growing and changing for a long, long time. It's just now it's reached a point where I think it's a little bit more noticeable. But you had mentioned that the UFC didn't always give with the fans what they want, and it's true in the sense that who was asking, for example, for Randy Couture versus James Toney, like that, they accepted it, but there wasn't a thing that like they were beating down the door to get. So they've definitely gone down directions where they just gave the fans something. And Anderson Silva versus Patrick Cote, was that a thing that they had to do? Probably not.
No.
However, it is my belief that post Ultimate Fighter and midway through the Fox deal, they were much better about, is there a specific fight that the fans are demanding, making some kind of effort, and more than just a half-assed one, to put that together. And that was often in places and in times of the company's life that it did not have the financial resources that it has now. I mean, one of the things is, whether you like the White House card or not, one thing you have to realize is that's the card they were able to put together based on how they want to pay. And I think it should be important for everyone to know there is not a single solitary fighter or fight that the UFC and TKO couldn't afford. They could buy literally any one. The question is, do they have to give into every pay demand? That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying they're not constrained in the way. And I recall numerous instances during the course of my career where Dana White would make a fight and then make a point to be like, you see this fight? These are fights that don't happen in boxing. This is why Mayweather and Pacquiao won was 6 years too late, because Floyd's too busy fighting Victor Ortiz or Andre Berto or somebody else. Manny's fighting, I don't know, whatever jabroni he was facing in some of those times, and you'd be like, well, what's taken so long? It's because they would dance around and go the other way, and he would make it a point to be like, I want to do as little of that as possible. I want to be the antidote to that. But what has changed, and I really, if I can drive any point home to your viewers of anything else I say today, it has to be the following. Namely, I got asked for years, what is the big deal about what happens when the UFC is a monopoly? Why is that bad? Major League Baseball is a monopoly. NFL is a monopoly. Why is that bad? And I understand the argument that isn't it just better intuitively if you've got most of everybody in one place, you're going to there's just more you can do with that. And the answer to that is of course, right? Of course, of course. That just makes intuitive sense. It's going to be much more full of friction if everybody's spread out. But the reality is you are looking at some of the effects of what monopoly brings. You don't have a choice as an MMA consumer. They know that. They have guaranteed revenue models all throughout what they do. They are making more money than any other boxing and MMA promoter worldwide combined, and they're making more. They don't need to answer to you, the consumer, and this, to me, is the result. And one last point, if I may, Mark Shapiro, the guy who is the chief operating officer of TKO, we know him here in the Washington, D.C. area. Dan Snyder, the former owner of the local football team, put him in charge of his Six Flags operation, and some of that went well, some of it didn't. But the point I'm trying to make is, do you think that this guy knows what you want as a fight fan? Do you think that he has any clue what actually resonates with the rock-ribbed fight fan? Of course he doesn't. Of course he doesn't. And then you add in the monopoly factor on top of it and how it insulates them from having to answer to you, and welcome to the result of what monopoly brings to the sport of mixed martial arts.
Yeah. Do you think they could do that in boxing? Right, like I was listening a little bit to Eddie Hearn talking about Tom Aspinall, and when that came out, I thought it was a dick measuring contest because I felt Tom Aspinall was always there, right? I feel like he was always there. Then Dana White picks up Conor Benn, even though he's not paying a bill for
fans, and they'd be like, we want to see Fighter X versus Fighter Y, these two, okay, whoever that may be, and then they would get not that, they would get Fighter X versus something else, Fighter Y versus somebody else. And they would do this song and dance where they would be like, all right, well, I get why the promotion did it, and he's going to get a bag, and, you know, that fight will be fine. Like, the consumer is finding every reason to justify the bout other than their own interests. And it rots the sport, dude. It like, you'll just accept anything at the end of the day. And my response to everyone would be, on the boxing side, because this could be true, or the MMA side, like, make a list of the fights that you actually want to see. And this can change over time depending on what happens.
Yep.
But like, keep a running list. And then at the end of the year, see how many of them got made. And you're going to end up seeing it's a shockingly low number.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the hardest thing, when you say it like that, it's very hard to see the fights you want to have happen, right? I mean, and it's not that you don't want to see the fights they do make, like the Brandon Moreno versus Kavanaugh. That was a great fight. I didn't even know who that gentleman was. Like, I've heard of him, but I didn't see him move. He was moving great, piecing up Brandon Moreno, and I was like, holy shit. I didn't ask for it, but I was like, hey, I followed him on Instagram. I'm a new fan. I'm like, holy shit, he moves really good. So I could see that, but I feel if everybody was to write it down, they would be highly disappointed. Where, once again, I don't think the UFC is worried about what we want to see. They don't need to worry about, because they created that system where, you know, everybody wants to just watch it. Right? So
I don't. It is true that there definitely are people as a group, and it's not a small group. I don't think it's a large group either, but it's a real group that will just watch whatever UFC makes.
Oh, well, that was it. Yeah,
that is real.
Yeah, my mother-in-law and father-in-law, they watch everything. They watch PFL. They watch they watch everything. When I mean everything, they love it, right? Because they, obviously, I'm their son-in-law, so they love the artwork of how hard it is a mixed martial arts. Where for me, I'm a hardcore fan, where it's like, okay, you know what, I watch, you know, Real American Freestyle because I'm a fan of Uriah Faber, a fan of Aljamain Sterling, Armor Sarukian, Benson Henderson. So when those guys go and compete somewhere, I'm going to watch it. Where, you know, I haven't become fans of the new guys who are coming up, where I'm not gonna, you know, hey babe, you know, this guy's fight, I need to see him fight. It's almost like, hey, let's go watch Cirque du Soleil, let's go do something else, essentially. So for me, I feel that the UFC's trying to capture that newer audience, where it's like, you don't know what UFC is? Let me show you. It's this, blah, blah, blah. They don't even say it's mixed martial arts. They say it's UFC. And that's what pisses me off. Like, it's a sport of mixed martial arts, where at the infancy stage, I was talking to Mike about this, like, on my video today. It's like, when you look at the origination of mixed martial arts, it was like this skill set versus this skill set. That's what was originating. It's like a boxer versus a karate guy, or a, you know, Kyokushin versus this art, or Muay Thai. That's what it came down to. Fast forward to 2026, we saw that last night, the BMF belt. We saw somebody who's a amazing grappler, who's able to take down the striker and basically maul him. And so for me, it's like, I'm at the point now where I've accepted this is what the product is. I'm not going to get upset about it, because it's not going to be like the glory days like it was when you had GSP taking on Josh Koscheck, or you had, you know, Frank Mir fighting Brock Lesnar, and then you had, you know, Anderson Silva fighting, you know, this guy. It's just never going to be like that ever again. And the UFC doesn't need stars, because they continue to keep on selling out. And back to your point, if Homeboy buys all the water bottle around the world, and he sells it for, at one point it was $1, and he sells it for $500, now that is great fucking business tactics, my friend. I wish I could do that as well, but, you know, they might call me.
It is, but it's exploitative too. That's the problem.
Well, I feel like it's back in COVID. Everybody was buying up all the goddamn toilet paper from Costco, right?
And hand sanitizer too, yeah.
Hand sanitizer. Next thing you know, that shit, my friend, she went and bought Banaka. You remember Banaka? That stuff, right?
No.
Banaka was back in, like, I think the early 2000s. It was like a breath refreshener. It's called Banaka. So she went and she found 2 packages of unopened Banaka. You can't buy it anymore, right? She turned around and sold it for 10x because somebody wanted it. And I'm like, that's great business tactics. Now that person did not have to buy it for 10x, but if he wanted Banaka, he had to pay 10x because she was the only person in town who had it. And I'm like, that's great business tactics. So when I hear, like, at one point in time to go to UFC, it was $100. Now it's $500. It's almost like the new iPhone. You want the new iPhone? you gonna have to pay that pretty penny, baby, if you want this. If not, keep your ass at iPhone SE.
Well, here's what I think. This is obviously a thing you would never agree with. So I don't know if your wife has a job, but let me just make up something. My wife works, and perhaps yours does as well. If not, it's great. But like, plenty of people watching this will have significant others in their life will do this. And it's like, well, you want to be a teacher. Well, at this particular school district where you live, they have to deal with unusual demands, and they don't fund them and whatnot. And it's like, well, you want to be a teacher in this area. This is just kind of what it comes with. And I understand there can be some broader realities about what kind of funding you get in rural parts of countries versus more established ones, and certainly we understand that they can't all be uniform. But there's just going to be a baseline of not just basic ethics about what we should allow businesses to do to either entrench their position or serve the needs of customers or their own clients, depending on what the nature of the business is. Like the state has to put some guardrails around exploitation. I just feel like it's part of the reason why the Ali Act was passed, for crying out loud. Or even, why do we have commissions? Well, the commission is, remember, like, you can't just tell the commission, hey, we're going to put on these fights. They have to approve them all.
Yep.
We put in some guardrails around exploitation to stop it. But the point I want to get to previously, as you kind of mentioned, was, like I indicated, I really need folks to like wrap their minds around how the money is made here in this place, right? So they got this huge television deal. They have multiple media deals across the world. But a big part of that is also they'll service different governments like Azerbaijan and all these places getting bombed, UAE and Saudi Arabia and whatnot, which is, by the way, it's one kind of story to follow to see what actually happens here. But neither here nor there, like that's a big part of how they get money. And the point I'm trying to make is, if you build a brand where you no longer need stars, and I got to tell you, when I grew up in this business, it was star driven.
Yes,
that was how it worked. And now you're getting to a place where you're saying, well, we don't need them, but like that's not really true, because what you're doing is you're providing kind of like an IV drip of content, but what you're doing in the process is, like, does the UFC need every individual fan? No. But anytime a business looks at each fan that way, the fan then has a choice about how much they need that product in their lives. And so what I'm trying to explain to everyone is, like, I don't have any problem with, I don't sports gamble personally, but like, I have a show on DraftKings Network. I don't mind that is a thing in the sport. I think that people should have the freedom to do those kinds of things. But I think a lot of what the UFC is planning on is we're just going to have a hardcore audience of people who kind of engage with the product on these terms. They'll kind of watch whatever. That's a real product and a real portion that can sustain this product, but it does not make it excellent. And it will not put the kinds of pressures such that they exist to make excellent things out of it. It's kind of like a lowest common denominator situation in terms of like the extra portions of the fan base you are appealing to make it. I mean, dude, people can feel something is off. They can feel it. And I'm trying to explain, we are watching years of monopoly bake into an operation that has no market or consumer pressure put against them, other than people deciding to walk away because they're simply just not getting the same experience anymore. It's not an accident. It's not an accident.
Yeah, when you put it like that, I mean, at the end of the day, I'll never forget when there were stars in the UFC. I learned this from Matt Hume. He was like, you got Rich Franklin, Matt Hughes, Tim Sylvia, Chuck Liddell, Drew Ortiz. Those guys were stars, right? And then there was also another usher era of athletes who were stars: Anderson Silva, Chael Sonnen, John Jones, even Vitor Belfort for the Brazilian crowd. And then eventually, I always tell Michael, and I view it as a YouTube channel, right? There's some people on YouTube, they can turn on their camera and they can talk about what's going on in the world, and they're going to get massive views, right? They built a product, they built their brand so high, they can talk whatever they want, and they're going to do banger numbers. Where if, for us, let's just say that we jump on here, we have a niche that we have to follow. If we ever derail from that niche, our numbers go low because we haven't built our brand big enough that people are just going to tune in and watch. Getting back to the context, that's what UFC's done. So for me, I tell Michael all the time, it's smart they don't have any stars. As a business perspective, like, I love how you said that.
But hold on, smart for who? Smart for who?
For the UFC.
Okay, but what about you? What about you?
Oh, me as a consumer?
Yes.
Oh, so for me, I have come to the realization that the UFC would never be what it was. It never will be. I've accepted that. I've accepted that. And I think the more you remember, we come from a different era. I tell Michael all the time, I would never forget. I would work 9 to 5, and I was taking a shit, and I would lie to my boss, say I'm taking a shit because Krokop and Fedor Emelianenko were fighting on Critical Countdown, right? Because it was Japanese time. Or I never forget when it was Andrei Arlovsky fighting when he was defending the title, and you know I think he was fighting. I forget the guy's name. His name was Cabbage, and he hit him with the overhand. Cabbage Carrera. He hit him with a beautiful overhand right. I mean, it's not the same product, and it's just like WWE. It's not the same product. So I walked away from watching WWE, and I'm much happier. I even asked my son, I was like, dude, he was very big into Jey Uso. It's just me, Uso, come on. And I'm like, dog, you don't watch anymore. And I was like, why? And he was like, the storyline was boring. It was just the same shit all the time. He goes, once Cody Rhodes became the champion, I was out. I was fulfilled. So he moved on, but guess what? WWE is still fucking killing it. They're still making plenty of money. Why? Because they have that new usher of fan base that's coming in. So in all context of this, they're not worried about me or you and Michael. They're trying to capture that other person that hasn't had the taste of what we've had. And that's my whole point all along. When Michael gets pissed off, he goes, oh, these White House cards are... It's like, they ain't worried about you, Michael. They ain't worried about my black ass. They ain't worried about Luke's ass either.
Yeah, they're definitely not worried about me. I can tell you that. But what I would say in response to that is I don't know enough about WWE business, and I couldn't possibly offer any informed commentary. You could totally be telling me in every way the most accurate thing, and I wouldn't even know because I just don't know. But what I would say is on the MMA side, dude, the sport. I mean, look, they're gonna have fights at the White House, right? It's reached a level of social penetration. Yeah, it's reached a level of inside the most powerful institutions. Like it's the meta apex. It's fights at the White House and blah blah blah. Like there's no denying how far it's reached into the world in ways that we know it from being on Native American reservations, for crying out loud. So in that sense, I think it's there's no denying that it's got that far. But in this country, dude, not the same number of people watch MMA like they used to.
Oh.
The pie has gotten smaller. Like, why? We talked about this in the show last time. Like, why is heavyweight kind of buns right now? And it's because like the American market in general is down, and the American market in general is down because a lot of reasons. But we know there's much fewer events year over year in this country in MMA. I think pay, I can't say because it's not really measured, but I think pay has a lot to do with it. But anyway, in any case, the pie is, in terms of the fan base, is shrinking. So this is what I mean. Private equity, these guys who run this is private equity. These guys who run it, they've basically figured out a formula where they're like, we don't mind a little bit of churn, both who's coming, who's going, and to make it smaller, if we can create a financial model that's still better for us. And then fans are going, well, they're making tons of money. Yeah, they're making tons of money. Are you having the same Saturday nights?
No.
And I can't find anyone who's watched the sport 10 years or longer who can say that with a straight face.
Now, see, that's the question. That's the factor. Who's been watching this sport 10 years or longer, right? And I think that pie is getting smaller, where that other pie might be getting bigger. It's almost like it's at the meta apex. I don't know how many viewers or how much traffic goes to on Facebook or Instagram, right? But now that Mark Zuckerberg is there, imagine if Mark Zuckerberg just starts throwing out all this type of UFC content, like advertisement. New viewers get eyeballs on it. Oh, shit, it's free on CBS. Hey, honey, you want to watch it? Yeah, sure, let's watch it. It's free. I just feel that they're pushing out the people who will watch it for 10 years. I agree with you. They're not probably as happy as me, you are, but that other pie is probably going to grow, right? Where that's why I feel if you
I don't think it will.
You don't think so?
There's a lot of stuff. I mean, so what I would say is, you know, MMA is always going to be pretty popular. Let's say with teens or young men, 18-24, right?
Yep.
MMA is just always going to do pretty well in that kind of demo. But dude, I'm not in any way making this up. There is an enormous amount of research coming out around Gen Alpha. You're going to sound like I'm making a hyperbolic statement. I'm not making a hyperbolic statement. They don't watch sports.
What's Gen Alpha? What's Gen Alpha? What age is that?
That's the youngest one coming up. That is, I'm not sure how old they would be right now. They'd be
18,
young teens,
22?
something like that.
I can see that.
Gen Z is already in the workforce, so it would be the one right behind them, so high schoolish.
High schoolish. I think, and I agree with you, but I think what they're going to really do and what they're trying to do is you look at all the streamers now, right? Like Kai Cenat doesn't stream anymore. You look at IShowSpeed. You look at Matt Tint. You look at Dean the Great. You look at all these guys who have a massive following, which is that Gen Alpha you're talking about, right? That's where they're starting to do collaborative work with those guys, with the UFC to capture. I went to my son's school, his next school he's going to. They're relatively middle school, so they're 7th, 8th, 9th. 7th, 8th, 9th, and then even the high school. I went to the high school game this fall. Everybody and their fucking mom knew who I was because I did something with Death Sentence.
Yeah, you're famous, DJ.
Yeah, I know that, but at the same time, I'm saying that generation follows the streamers. They follow Street Beef. They follow all that stuff.
Yes.
So once they do collaborative work with those guys, like they bring IShowSpeed streaming, maybe 85,000 people are watching them, right? Bring them to a UFC event. They're starting to dabble. That's why I think you see a lot of these streamers are starting to collaborate with the UFC athletes or even other mixed martial athletes.
Like Neon, I don't watch his content, but I see him all the time clipped up on social.
Even Neon, even Aiden Ross, they had Ilya Taporio on there. They have a massive following, which is that Gen Alpha, which is my son's generation. That's how he knows about the new fighters is those streams. I try to keep them motherfuckers off that shit.
But yes, I don't dispute that making the bridge to people, particularly generationally, on what either technology they use or where they're at and going to them and making that count is useful and important, and I fully recognize that. But on some level, you just have to kind of realize the argument doesn't make a lot of sense when you're saying, well, they can keep turning in an increasingly bad product, but as long as they've got these other third parties validating for it, people will just keep watching. Like, dude, at any time the sport's been super hot, ask yourself a very basic question. Were big-ass fights happening? Yes.
Yes. Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
That is in boxing and in MMA. It's always been in kickboxing. Pick jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Pick any combat sport. At the time people were the most invested is when the most, with some exception, in general, I'm talking long periods, not punctuated evenings. But it's in those periods where like the most interesting stuff was happening. I just don't believe you can, like, again, these are private equity guys.
Yep.
They're just this is all numbers on a spreadsheet to them. And so they might be able to make that work, but the question is, where do people who just want to see great fights, where do you fit in on that? And to me, it seems like there are places for it, just not like it once was.
Exactly. Okay, so let's transition. We got the White House card. We got Ilya Taporio taking on Justin Gaethje, and we have Cyril Gane taking on Poatan, Alex Pereira. I'm happy it's for an interim instead of the Undisputed, so kudos to them for not stripping Tom Aspinall because he still is injured. But I would be lying if I'm not saying I'm excited. I'm excited to see the two and Sean O'Malley. I wanted to see Sean. Like, for example, I love Sean O'Malley, but I'd rather see him fight Corey Sandhagen. I think that fight needs to happen, but you know, I'll settle for what he's gonna fight Sahabi. Other than that, I mean, like I said, I have accepted this is the product we're gonna get from the UFC, so I'm excited.
Dude, no, not me. I mean, I want to be clear. So I'm not going to repeat my criticisms. I'm just going to try and use that to then examine this card. What I would say is, you know, I'm glad the lightweight title's being unified. It's important. I don't think it'll be a bad fight. It's not the fight that I want, but I don't think it'll be a bad fight. The co-main to me is actually the most interesting fight on that card. You know, and I know the John Jones question looms large. I'm sure we'll get to that here shortly. But for what it is, Poatan going up to a third weight class, and not for nothing, the Gane matchup is actually a pretty good matchup. Different styles of footwork, different kinds of athleticism. I actually really like that fight. I'm not saying it's also the best fight they could have made, but like, I dig it. After that, dude, I can take it or leave it, to be honest with you. It's not that Sahabi hasn't earned a good opportunity, because he has. He's put together a great win streak, and he's worked really hard. And I'm not trying to hate on his moment. Same thing with Kyle Daukaus. Kyle Daukaus got bounced from the UFC, came back, put together, I think, at least 2 or maybe 3 good wins, some really, really impressive returns, and they gave him this opportunity, and that's that he's earned a big opportunity. So I'm happy for guys like that. But like, you know, bro, Chandler's they're feeding Chandler to the wood chipper. That's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. Steve Garcia also with the David Onama win has a nice opportunity here against Diego Lopez, but like, these are just, again, you look at O'Malley, Zahabi, you look at Chandler and Hoofy, you look at all the ones on that card. Show me which one of those four. Show me which one of those four anybody was asking for ahead of time. Now, people might have wanted Poatan John Jones and then said, well, I'll settle for Gon. Like, Gon was a secondary choice, but at least you saw some people kind of buzzing about that. And certainly in the main event, you knew that the unification was going to happen. People actually have some anticipation around that, and hello, you got the two of the biggest stars in Taporia and Poatan. Fair enough.
Yep.
The rest of those, I'm not saying there's not value to them. I'm saying, once again, who was requesting those?
Nope.
They just got made. You know,
Yeah.
that's my problem with them.
Yeah, and I understand that, and it's almost like you said, with Zahabi, great. He's on a tear, gets the opportunity to beat, try to beat Sean O'Malley. And like for me, if I made a list on that list, I would say, Ilya Dupoy versus Justin Gaethje, wanted to see that. Ciryl Gane versus Poatan, I'm here for it. Like you said, because it's a unique style matchup for Alex, and he's going up the heavier, so he doesn't have the range advantage. It's almost going to be he's fighting the bigger guy, truly. And then I really wanted to see Sean versus Corey. Chandler, I wanted to see Chandler versus Conor McGregor. I think Hoofy, he's on his stardom up. He's trying to get up there to get a title shot. And then other than that, I can see where you're at. But like I said, I'm at that point now where it's like, this is what they're gonna give me. What do they? I think a lot of people are upset because, Dana White. There's gonna be 6 title fights on the UFC White House card. I was like, holy shit, 6 title fights. We will get some.
No,
good
wasn't
fights.
that Trump?
On June 14th, we're having a fight. All of the greatest champions in the world, the UFC fight, and they're going to have 8 or 9 championship fights, the biggest fights they've ever had. Everyone's a championship fight, and everyone's a legendary type of fight. He's actually holding back fights right now for 6 months so he can do it for the 250. I think 250 is going to be amazing.
I think it was Trump. Trump got them in trouble because Trump was like, "Yo, it's gonna be like a bunch of title fights," and we were all like, "Yo, there's gonna be 6 or 7 of these things."
Yeah.
And then I think the UFC was like, "I don't know if we can do that."
Maybe Trump got a little ahead of himself.
Yeah. Just for some correction there, it was Trump that said the 6 to 7 title fights. I believe a separate time he said 8. But what Dana did say, that's obviously not Dana's fault, but what Dana did say was that,
obviously everybody wants to fight on that card. And that's a good thing because we're going to put on the best card we've ever done for that White House event.
Holy shit, Dana.
Imagine, just think about what I'm going to do for this fight, and then think about what Trump is going to do for this fight. You know what I mean? It's going to be it's a one-of-one experience. Like when we did the Sphere, it's the Sphere on steroids. I mean, it's going to be a one-of-one event.
Dana did say that on the Pat McAfee show.
Yeah, it definitely did not do that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I can't remember who the main event was on the Sphere. So
Sean O'Malley Morale.
I mean, that was a good fight. I think I'm looking more forward to Ilya Dupoy versus Justin Gaethje, to be honest.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
yes,
I think that fight outweighs just because.
But also that Sphere card had Zellhuber and Ribovics. It had a bunch of bangers up and down. Diego Lopez had a good fight on that card too against Ortega.
Brian Ortega, yep.
Yeah, so that main event wasn't as good, but that card, and also it's different because that card had what, 10, 12, whatever, how many fights?
Yeah,
this one just got sick,
Yeah.
So it's not apples to apples. But.
Exactly. So we'll see. But we do have breaking news. We just heard it. John Jones has asked for his release from the UFC. Now I don't think they'll grant it. But I think we're at this weird point now, right? With Netflix, Francis Ngannou has been released from PFL. The stars could align if he does get his release from the UFC. We can finally potentially see this matchup between John Jones versus Francis. But I don't think they're going to release him. The problem I feel, and this has always been a problem with the UFC, and I've been a part of it, is that there's this narrative that the UFC always puts himself in, that they're trying to make the right fights that we want to see, and they're always doing the right thing by the athletes. But that's not the case, right? It's like, for example, when me and TJ Dillashaw were supposed to fight, I gave my stipulations of what I wanted to have happen in the contract. They said no, and they made it out that I was scared and da-da-da-da-da. So we don't know what's going on with John Jones and the UFC, right? Like, I'm not gonna lie, I was laughing when Dana White says, homeboy needs a hip replacement. He came out and said that. And did you see him run at the celebrity football game. I was there live, and I did see that, and it wasn't an explosive athlete, but John Jones has been an amazing athlete his whole life, so it's only fair to say that he's eligible for a hip replacement, right? Am I wrong for saying that? But
yeah, and counterpoint, just so you know the info John Jones did in his statement, he talked about that. He said he received stem cell treatment, and the point he made, he's like, I have arthritis in my hip, but they offered an amount, and he's like, so word for word what John Jones says is, if I accepted their lowball offer, suddenly my hit would be fine and I'd be on the White House card. That doesn't make sense. So, because if he accepted the UFC's offers, Dana White going to be out there talking about his hip.
No.
But now because he didn't accept the offer, now all of a sudden he can't fight. So that's the counterpoint.
yeah, that's like I said, it's a narrative, right? It's like they're playing a narrative. They might have offered him. End of the day, it's okay. Like you said earlier in the show today, Luke, they could have paid John Jones 50. They could have paid John Jones 80 million to fight at the White House, but do they have to? They don't have to. The White House card is going to go on regardless if Jones on it. So I think, I always try to look at it as an unbiased opinion, where it's like, if I want to be biased, they should have fucking paid John Jones whatever the fuck he wanted, right? They got the money to do it. But as a business standpoint, remove myself from being a big fan of John Jones. It's almost like, dog, they'll always find somebody who can do it cheaper. Like, they will always do that.
They're the military. So, like, for example, in the military, if the military needs a tower to get built on their property, I mean, maybe things have changed, but when I was in it, the contract would go to the lowest bidder.
Yeah.
So whoever the contractor who would do it for the cheapest, that's who they would do it for, or that's who they would ultimately do their business. But I mean, dude, like, we can't justify this. Like, we can't. We gotta listen. There are few people in the fight game I have less positive feelings for maybe than John Jones. Like, I don't, on a personal level, it's just not a person that I care about or care for in any kind of way. But that doesn't matter either. Like, what matters is a standard of fairness. What matters is a standard of everyone, every party having some semblance of the market work in their favor, not just one side of it. And this is a case where, I don't know the exact terms of John's deal.
Yeah.
Obviously. Okay. So, there's some revelation could come out that totally undercuts what I'm about to say. But based on what I do know about UFC contracts and the like, I think the point that I really would like to drive home in the situation is, well, first of all, when John says he's been underpaid in his career, he is telling the truth. Like, for the amount of money that he has generated relative to what his peers who have done similar amounts, what they have made, let's say on the boxing side, it's not even close. He is underpaid. Okay, so and my understanding is, based on what Ariel had reported, I think we're looking closer to like the $20 million range, maybe a little bit more, what he was wanting. Which, by the way, I mean, Deontay Wilder got $20 million to fight, I think, Dominic Brazil. So, like, I mean, this is a thing they could afford. But the point I'm trying to make here is, if the UFC was in a place where this was a guy like Devin Haney, who could take a fight that was ordered, this guy versus this guy, right? And a promoter wants it, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. There would be a bidding war between them. And what I'm trying to explain is, not only would that be greater because UFC would probably bid enough to win out, so you'd still get your fight on UFC would get what they want. The fighter would get what they want, and now the fan would get what, I mean, I'm assuming that more people would want to see Jones than not. The fan, in that case, would get what they would want. It creates a competitive environment where there's not just, well, one promoter can pay you what they want, or they can just tell you to pound sand and then hold you under lock and key, and then you can't do anything about it. This should shock people's conscience a little bit. People should look at this and say, okay, I know this is the way that it's been done a long time. Is that a good thing? Is this a fair thing? Especially to a guy who, again, is not personally a sympathetic character, but as a revenue generator, has been shortchanged the vast majority of his career. Although I do grant, he's also caused an enormous amount of headaches. So maybe that cancels out. I don't know.
I just don't think, like you said, I love how you use that contractor as a reference, because that is absolutely true. And that's the market we live in nowadays, right? Because the brand is so big, they can do that. But I think with their contract, I don't think he'll get released. And if he does get released, I'm sure they're going to have some type of stipulation. Like for me, when I got released from my contract from UFC to go to One Championship, if I was to fight anywhere else, UFC would have first rights to me, so I couldn't like, you know, come back and say, hey, I'm done fighting, I'm gonna go fight for Netflix. The UFC gets first options at me because that was stated in their contract. So I'm sure if they were somehow to let go of John Jones, which I highly doubt that, right? Because he's obligated to those fights on the UFC. If he was to retire, his contract gets frozen for a certain amount of time, where it's almost like, I don't know if Ronda Rousey, if her contract got frozen out or she fought out the rest of her deal, now she's fighting for Netflix, but they're not gonna let John Jones go. They're not just gonna let him go and fight somewhere else and help build that platform up, right? But I think in a time with everything that's going on, with Conor Benn getting 15 million, Tom Aspinall going to Eddie Hearn, you have Francis getting released from the PFL, him joining the Netflix, and John Jones, I just feel something is kind of happening, but I still think the UFC has the control of like what can happen at the end of the day.
Yeah, I don't think anything's happening. I want to be clear about that. Nothing will happen until you make the UFC do something with the power of the law. Other than that, nothing changes. It doesn't work. Now, or I mean, I suppose another world would be there's a huge negative backlash to the point where it's like the biggest story in sports, then TKO decides they don't want the bad publicity and they make some changes. But like in general, the only way to do this is to get the power of law. I know there's a million different ways you can do that, but I certainly recognize the thing you're pointing at, which is like there's a lot of dissension in the ranks, like vocal. But dude, you were around when they did the Reebok deal. Like there was, I mean, people were bitter, and then they just went back to work. Like,
and like I said, for me personally, I benefit from the Reebok deal. I did, because I wasn't a hustler. I was not focused on running out trying to grab all these sponsors. Even when we tried to, nobody was paying a flyweight 6 figures like they were paying a Brandon Schaub. It just wasn't happening. So for me, I could just focus on training and then going out there fighting. And every single time I showed up, the $40,000 would hit my bank account every single time. Where other people like Tyron Woodley, when he fought Rory McDonald, he told me straight, he goes, I'm not even worried about fucking training. I'm worried about to see how much money I can make in sponsor.
shit, Coastal, let's go.
I thought you were a dope boy then. Yo. Yeah, I'm in.
Did you see Troop at the top of VU just like scoping with a
Right,
fucking combat,
I
bro?
swear.
He's just up there with a combat scanning the scene,
Yeah,
waiting for someone to pop out, bro.
Me and David are pill, like Southside
Yeah.
one.
Yo, I'm fucking crying, bro. Troop just up there with a combat, just scanning the area.
He's just getting everyone.
One shot makes you fall over from his gun. He was bullying somebody with it.
Bro, I don't know how I didn't put Kevin down. I hit him twice
Yo,
with the
me
shotgun.
too. I lasered the fuck out of him with the K. I was only
That's
focusing
all I
him, and
was
somehow
going
he still
for.
stayed up.
Hey,
I swear he
the
has
only
extra
one I was
health on,
going
bro.
for. I'm
He
telling
picked
you,
me
bro,
back
when
up,
you
bro,
use
but
that
Cheeto didn't
PD
kill me.
armor, I'm telling you, when you use that PD armor, you take so many more bullets.
Hold on.
Cooley, I'm so sorry. That was me. You killed me? How could you, bro?
I'm sorry, Otis.
I
I'm
came through to
sorry.
see what was popping off, and I got
I'm
shot,
sorry.
bro.
Look at this guy on the roof up here. Look at this guy. Look at this guy over here.
Yeah, you trying to let me get that gun real quick?
No.
Shit, my bad.
a Doughboy?
Hey, bro, you can't get in that car, bro.
Nice.
changes incoming.
Kinda like is like a.
So you gotta build a time machine, basically. Or they gotta get it together and start playing very aggressively and backing themselves. But the same
Like, comeback is a
conversation.
great pickup if you use him properly.
Yeah, that
Now, split A.
Nonetheless, he might be a
Oh, I
little bit
like
more
this,
comfortable,
man.
very proactive in the
We're
way
using
this
the
defense
harbor
has
well
started.
already. We go aggro with the chamber as well off of it.
Let's
This
see
is
a
nice.
Benji Fishy Harbor. It's not something I was expecting.
And the harbor's not playing anchor.
Yeah, we were
I
touching
already
on that a
prefer
little
it to
bit before we
Fnatic.
came on air of the comeback. If you're playing the Sentinel, Chamber Sentinel, then you're obviously not going to double up. Benji can fill it as he likes. Already going to catch Kalasha. And now it's on comeback to
Ooh,
hold
nice
this
extra
ground.
kill,
Does
though.
phenomenal with 20 HP.
Yeah, that makes it easy.
Still able to take another down. That's
Den
Filu
store with
in
the prime.
dirt.
Appreciate that. Thank you so
Glork
much.
and Ruxic left to pick up those pieces. Spike's still under their control. They don't know what round
RX7
they've
Devil
lost,
as
even
well.
as they gotta
Devil, mate.
clear their
Appreciate you
own
doing that.
spawn,
Thank
their
you so
shift
much, man.
walking, conscious that
I know what to do.
there could be a Heretics
Get the
player
slug
anywhere.
oil spam
Meanwhile, we
going
can
for the
see that
5
the
gifted.
defense
Thank
has
you for
just
doing that, mate.